Hey everyone, it's Lexi. So in today's video I'll be doing a haul. So this covers all the books that I purchased basically from January until now. I have 20 books here total and they kind of are all over the place in terms of genre, which is a lot of fun. Some of these you can see I have some videos planned kind of in the summertime, so I wanted to use these books as part of that video and all that, but I have a lot of books that I'm excited to talk to you about, so grab your cup of tea because this one is going to be a long one. So first up, I have this book that was recommended to me by my boyfriend. He read this kind of earlier in the year and he said he really enjoyed it. I think there's 2 books out currently and I think there might be a 3rd book coming out in the future, but it said like just the style of it reminded him of Lee Bardugo and he thought I would really enjoy it. So I picked up this ginormous tome of a book and it is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. This one just sounds super intriguing. So it says, Wren is a con artist who has come to the sparkling city of Nazira with one goal: to trick her way into a noble house, securing her fortune and her sister's future. But her masquerade is just one of many, and as a corrupt nightmare magic begins to weave its way through the city of dreams, the poisonous feuds of its nobility and the shadowy dangers of its impoverished underbelly become tangled with Wren at their heart. I just think this sounds super interesting. Like, my boyfriend said he really enjoyed it. It'll be nice to kind of start a new kind of fantasy series, and again, this is one that I haven't heard anything about besides my boyfriend recommending it to me, so it'll be nice to read a book that is not really well known on the internet. So some of these books you may have seen in my week in my life video that I uploaded a couple weeks ago, so you will not be surprised on some of these if you've already seen it. One of which was The Elephant of Belfast by S. Krirk Walsh, and basically I'm a sucker for anything relating to animals and World War II, and this happens to combine both, which is very fortunate. But it says, Belfast, October 1940, 20-year-old zookeeper Hetty Quinn arrives at the city docks in time to meet her new charge, an orphan 3-year-old Indian elephant named Violet. As Violet adjusts to her new solitary life in captivity and Hetty mourns the recent loss of her sister and the abandonment of her father, new storm clouds gather. A world war rages, threatening a city already reeling from escalating tensions between British loyalists and those fighting for a free and unified Ireland. The relative peace is shattered by air raid sirens on the evening of Easter, Tuesday, 1941. Over the course of the next 5 hours, hundreds of bombs rain down upon Belfast, claiming almost 1,000 lives and decimating the city. Dodging the debris and carnage of the Luftwaffe attack, Hetty runs to the zoo and makes sure Violet is unharmed. The harrowing ordeal and ensuring aftermath set the pair on a surprising path that highlights the indelible singular bond that often bring mankind and animals together during her horrifying times. So I just think this one sounds really interesting. Like I said, I'm a sucker for animals. Like, I just love anything. Like, I love nature documentaries, I love all that stuff, and I also love World War II historical fiction, so I feel like this is a good blend of both those 2 things that I love. So this is another book that I also got at Half Price Books, and I was excited because I've heard like somewhat mixed things, but my friend really enjoyed this, and this was basically like, this copy looks brand new, and it is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. You can see like this copy looks like it's brand spanking new. Like, I don't even think it's been opened, which is a lot of fun. But this one, again, like I said, I've heard mixed things online, but my friend said she really enjoyed it, so I'm going off of her recommendation. It says, before Owen Michaels disappears, he managed to smuggle a note to his beloved wife of 1 year, protect her. Despite her confusion and fear, Hannah Hall knows exactly whom the note refers: Owen's 16-year-old daughter, Bailey. Bailey, who lost her mother tragically as a child. Bailey, who wants absolutely nothing to do with her new stepmother. As Hannah's increasingly desperate calls to Owen go unanswered, as the FBI arrests Owen's boss, as a U.S. Marshal and federal agent arrive at her home unannounced, Hannah quickly realizes her husband isn't who he said he was, and that Bailey just may hold the key to figuring out Owen's true identity and why he really disappeared. So I just think this one sounds interesting. It looks like it's fairly short as well, like a fun kind of, you know, thriller murder mystery type thing that's just a little bit over 300 pages, so this could be just a fun quick read. So the way my school ended up using up the remainder of like the COVID relief money is that they deposited $100 into every student's like school account that you can use, the bookstore or anywhere on campus that uses kind of like the card that's linked to your ID. So I purchased $75 in Visa gift cards that I just converted into an Amazon gift card, and then I used the remaining $25 to pick up the Lincoln Highway by Amor towels. I've heard, like, I've seen this book everywhere and I've heard really great things, so I think this one just sounds super interesting. So it says, in June 1954, 18-year-old Emmett Watson is driven home to Nebraska by the warden of the juvenile work farm where he just served 15 months for involuntary manslaughter. His mother long gone, his father recently deceased, and the family farm foreclosed upon by the bank. Emmett's intention is to pick up his eight-year-old brother Billy and head to California where they can start their lives anew. But when the warden drives away, Emmett discovers that two friends from the work farm have hidden themselves in the trunk of the warden's car. Together they have hatched an altogether different plan for Emmett's future, one that will take them all on a fateful journey in the opposite direction, to the city of New York. So I think this one sounds super interesting. I've heard really great things about this, and I think like this is one where it's just best to kind of just, you know, kind of go into it not knowing anything more outside of that small short little synopsis. So like, again, I've heard really great things about this and I was happy I was able to find this in my school bookstore. I think that was the first time I've ever been there too. Like, that just shows you how little I use my school outside of where my like office and lab is. So yeah, I got to explore some of the school. Like, I haven't been in the student center since like before COVID. So yeah, it was just, I was happy I was able to find this book and kind of use the remainder of that money for an Amazon gift card to hopefully purchase more books in the future. But yeah, I've heard really great things about this and I'm really intrigued. So I think you guys are probably gonna laugh when you see this book, just because this book is very popular within TikTok kind of universe and it's kind of known for being very smutty. So I thought this one would be fun. I'm not on TikTok, but I do see TikToks occasionally pop up on my Pinterest, and I've just seen this book everywhere, and I just thought it would be fun to do a reaction vlog type video of me reading this book. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But this book is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I just thought it would be funny to read this because I've heard this book is just very, very smutty and hot and heavy. So I plan kind of in the summertime to have a video of me reacting to this book, which I think will make it a lot of fun for you guys. But yeah, like I said, I know this book is everywhere on TikTok because the little I see of TikToks on Pinterest, this book is always recommended. So we'll see. Not on TikTok, but I am aware of this one. So it's basically like a maiden, a duty, a kingdom. Chosen from birth to usher in a new era, Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. Waiting for the day of her ascension, she would rather be with the guards, fighting back the evil that took her family, than preparing to be found worthy by the gods. But the choice is never theirs. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders, something she's not even quite sure she wants for herself, because a maiden has a heart and a soul and longing, and when Hawk, a golden-eyed guard honor bound to ensure her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become tangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. So I think this one will just be fun to do a reaction vlog of me reading this throughout the thing. Because it's like, I do like A Court of Thorns and Roses, like that type of fantasy, and like the smut is not my favorite. But we'll see how I do with this one. I think it'll just be funny for you guys to see me kind of read this. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for this vlog coming out in the summertime. I feel like I'm already losing my voice and I've only been at least recording for 11 minutes, so oh boy. Alrighty, so next up I have this trilogy that I've heard like people love it, rave about it, but I don't feel like it is as known kind of in the interwebs of book bookish things. And this is another one where I plan on kind of just marathoning the trilogy and doing a reaction video throughout the reading of it. And it is, I don't even know what it's called, the Gilded Wolves trilogy by Roshani. The first book being the Gilded Wolves, the second book being the Silvered Serpent, and the Bronze Beast. This is just kind of like a fantasy, like it involves like puzzles and kind of, it says, comes a novel set in Paris during a time of extraordinary change. One of that is full of mystery, decadence, and dangerous desires. So it says kind of the general synopsis of this trilogy. It's 1889. The city is on the cusp of industry and power, and the Exposition Universelle has breathed new life into the streets and dreads upon ancient secrets. Here no one keeps tabs on dark truths better than treasure hunter and wealthy hotelier Severin Montaguet Ellery. I apologize for my French. They put me in my French 2 class in grade 5 when we moved back to Canada, but I never had French 1, so my French is not the best. So when the elite, ever-powerful Order of Belle coerces him to help them on a mission, Severin is offered a treasure that he never imagined, his true inheritance. To hunt down the ancient artifact the Order seeks, Severin calls upon a band of unlikely experts, an engineer with a debt to pay, a historian banished from his home, a dancer with a sinister past, and a brother in arms, if not blood. Together they will join Severin as he explores the dark, glittering heart of Paris. What they find might change the course of history, but only if they can stay alive. I think this one just sounds a lot of fun. I've heard Leonie from the book Leo, and also Sam on Thoughts of Tome rave about this series, and those are kind of reviews that I trust. So again, this is going to be one where I'm going to do like a reaction vlog of just kind of binging this trilogy. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. Also kind of coming sometime in the summer. So next up, this was probably one of my most anticipated new releases of kind of this first half of 2022. I was just so excited, and it is The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn. This is her newest historical fiction novel. It follows this kind of, it's loosely based on this German sniper who is one of the most awarded snipers in history, and it kind of follows her story of Mila enrolling in the war in Russia during World War II to fight the Nazis, and just her experience of learning, you know, training to learn a gun, and ultimately how she became known as, I think it's like Lady Death, and became one of the most decorated snipers of all time. So it kind of follows her story. This one is a little bit more heavy on the romance than some of other Kate Quinn's books, and I feel like there was a lot more embellishment in this story. There is a kind of subplot that starts at the beginning of, which is actually true, like she went on a tour in America to help kind of encourage Americans to help Russia during the Nazi invasion. So she ended up befriending Eleanor Roosevelt, and this is kind of basically within the first few pages you know that there is an assassin that is trying to use her as a scapegoat for the assassination of President Roosevelt, and you can kind of, you already tell that that is very embellished and like would never happen, but it was still a lot of fun. I loved seeing Mila's character and just everything this like real life woman had to endure on the, you know, the Western Front fighting Germans during the cold and all that. So I did really enjoy that. I think this is a very interesting historical fiction novel. Even though it's very much kind of embellished, you can tell the author took a lot of liberties. It is still really interesting to see. I really like how Kate Quinn highlights a lot of kind of lesser known women's stories throughout history, like especially for like The Huntress. It follows the women pilots that fought for Russia as well during World War II. So I think it's really interesting because you do learn a lot, and I feel like this side of history I never learned at school. So yeah, that's something I just really enjoy. So this is a book that my boyfriend got me on Valentine's Day, and I'm really excited for this one because I've heard really great things, and this is just kind of one of the classic sci-fi fantasy authors, and it is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is another one I've heard Sunbeam's Jess talk about as well that she really enjoyed. So it says, a lone human ambassador is sent to the icebound planet of Winter, a world without sexual prejudice, where the inhabitants' gender is fluid. His goal is to facilitate Winter's inclusion into a growing intergalactic civilization, but to do so he must bridge the gulf between his own views and those of the strange, intriguing culture he encounters. So I think this one will be very interesting. My boyfriend has introduced me to a lot of kind of sci-fi fantasy novels that otherwise I wouldn't have read. In particular, I have Among Others by Jo Walton. I just finished Titus Grown by Mervyn Peake, so I'm really excited for this. He said it's very much kind of like one of those like classic sci-fi novels, and it is mentioned a lot in Among Others as well, which is interesting. So yeah, I'm excited to start this one. It doesn't seem like it's very short, like it's just over 300 pages, so it won't be too long of a read, but I'm definitely excited to pick this one up soon. Next up, this is a book that I found at Barnes and Nobles, and it just seemed really interesting. I think it was one of their like book of the month picks, or like one of the ones that they were part of their like book club, and just the synopsis seemed very intriguing to me, and it is Woman on Fire by Lisa Barr, and just reading the synopsis just made it sound super interesting. And it says, after talking her way into a job with Dan Mansfield, the leading investigative reporter in Chicago, raising young journalist Jules Roth is given an unusual and very secret assignment. Dan needs her to locate a painting stolen by the Nazis more than 75 years earlier. Legendary expressionist artist Ernest Engel's most famous work, Woman on Fire. World-renowned shoe designer Alice Baum wants this portrait of a beautiful, mysterious woman for deeply personal reasons, as an enlisted Dan's help to find it. But Jules doesn't have much time. The famous designer is dying. Meanwhile, in Europe, provocative and powerful Margot de Lorraine also searches for the painting, heir to her art collector's family's millions. Margot is a cunning galleryist who gets everything she wants. The only thing standing in her way is Jules. Yet the passionate, determined Jules has unexpected resources of her own, including Ellis's grandson, Adam Chase, a recovering addict and a brilliant artist in his own right. Adam was once in Margot's clutches. He knows how ruthless she is, and he'll do anything to help Jules locate the painting before Margot gets to it first. So I think this one sounds really interesting. I love kind of those lost in history types of stories where, like, I've read a few of them where like something is lost throughout, you know, like a major event like World War II, and in the present day they try to like locate that. I do really like those types of novels, and this one just sounds like it is just a lot of fun, and I was just really pulled in from the synopsis. So this next book is one that has been on my TBR for years, and when I went to Half Price Books with my boyfriend, I was like, you know what, I'm finally gonna pick this up, because I've been saying I've been wanting to read it for so long, and I was like, there's copies here, they're at a cheap price, they're used, they tick all the boxes for being very not only economical with book purchasing but more environmentally friendly. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy it. And it is The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This again is a book that I've heard tremendous things about, and I cannot wait to pick it up. Hint hint, it will be the book club picks for May and June, so keep your eyes peeled for that announcement. You get a little sneak peek here, but it says in the little synopsis here that Cora is a young slave on a cotton plantation in Georgia. An outcast even among her fellow Africans, she is on the cusp of womanhood, where greater pain awaits. And so when Caesar, a slave who has recently arrived from Virginia, urges her to join him on the Underground Railroad, she seizes the opportunity and escapes with him. So what I think is really interesting is that it takes the concept of the Underground Railroad and turns it into like a literal railroad, which I thought was interesting, because I remember learning about the Underground Railroad as a kid and thinking it actually was like a train. So I think it really is interesting to see that concept and kind of twisted in that type of way. Like I said, that was something that I like imagined as a kid, and I think this this book will be very powerful. This also was the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, so I'm expecting this to just be really moving and thought-provoking and just hard to read. Yeah, I just think it will just be a very powerful read. So yeah, I'm finally happy that I finally picked up a copy after years of being like, oh, Like, this has been on my TBR book like wish list on Amazon for years, so I was happy I was able to get a used copy. This is a book that I've heard tremendous things about, but also if I feel like I'm in the need for like a good cry, I feel like this is the book to pick up, and it is Panchinko by Min Jin Lee. This is another book that I got at Half Price Books, and again, this is one that just heard really great things about. I just know it's going to be very moving and emotional, and I'm just mentally prepared. So when I feel like I need to have like a good cry, I will pick this book up. So it says here on the back that history is seldom kind. In Min Jin Lee's best-selling novel, 4 generations of a poor, proud immigrant family fight to control their destinies, exiled from a homeland they never knew. In the early 1900s, teenager Sunja, the adored daughter of a crippled fisherman, falls for a wealthy stranger at the seashore near her home in Korea. He promises her the world, but when he discovers she is pregnant and that her lover is married, she refuses to be bought. Instead, she accepts an offer of marriage from a gentle, sickly minister passing through on his way to Japan. But her decision to abandon her home and to reject her son's powerful father sets off a dramatic saga that will echo down through the generations. Again, this is just a historical fiction novel that I'm just expecting to be incredibly moving and just upsetting. And I like how it kind of focuses on Korean culture, because even from a historical fiction novel standpoint, I haven't really read anything from that side of the world, so I think it'll be really interesting and informative and educational. So I'm just, again, expecting to be very moved by this book. So towards the end of December, I ended up reading the His Dark Materials series by Pullman, and I really enjoyed it, so I ended up picking up the kind of like collector's edition that has all 3 books in here, being The Golden Compass, The Subtle Knife, and The Amber Spyglass. So I just wanted to have like a physical copy of this series because I really enjoyed it. And yeah, it was funny because I was reading this and my boyfriend read it when he was like a kid, and I was reading it for the first time, so he reread it when I was reading it too, which made it kind of just a lot of fun. And then after kind of doing this, I also purchased kind of within that same kind of order his kind of spin-off series that is the Book of Dust trilogy. I want to say the first one being the volume 1 La Belle Sauvage, and the second one is The Secret Commonwealth. And I think like some of these are take place, because my boyfriend read these after he reread the trilogy. He says one of them takes place before Lyra is born and one is kind of after the events of the trilogy. And I believe there is also a 3rd book coming out as well. I don't really want to know too much about this. I kind of just want to dive right in and just kind of experience it, but it will be fun to kind of be back in this world. I just think it's just a really interesting concept, and with the demons, like I don't know what mine would be. If there's like a test, like I would just totally do it. It's basically like a Patronus, because I think my Patronus ended up being some sort of dog. But yeah, like I said, I'm happy that I have these books. I'm kind of saving them for like the fall or winter time, just because I feel like that is the perfect time to kind of read these types of fantasies. But nevertheless, I'm still very excited to eventually pick these up later in the year. So this next book is one that is, I think, the 3rd book in this series now, and it is something that's different from what I tend to even read or even watch like on a film or like TV show. But this is one that I think is just incredibly well written and just a lot of fun. And it is The Silent Sisters by Robert Dugoni. This follows a former CIA agent as he's come out of retirement and kind of gets involved with some espionage stuff, which is a lot of fun. So I said this is the 3rd book in the series. So it says after... Oh, I can't even say. I can't read the first sentence because that's a spoiler. Charles Jenkins thinks he's finally done with the spy game. But when the final 2 of the 7 sisters, America's assets who have been deep undercover in Russia for decades, cut off all communication from their handlers, are they in hiding after detecting surveillance, or have they turned and become double agents? It's Jenkins' duty to find out, but he's been added to a Russian kill list. It will require all of Jenkins' knowledge of spycraft and an array of disguises to return to the country undetected. But plans go awry his first night in Moscow when Jenkins gets involved in an altercation that ends in the death of the son of one of Russia's most powerful organized crime leaders. Pursued by mafia henchmen, Russia agents, and a particularly dodged Moscow police detective, Jenkins is determined to track down the final two sisters and get them to America or die trying. And I think this one, like I said, these ones are just incredibly well written. Like, they're totally fast paced, and like your heart, like you can feel your heartbeat increase while reading this, because especially like in the other ones there's been such a tremendous cat and mouse dialogue that's been written in terms, or like even narration, where you get like Charles's perspective and then also like the other perspective in the cat and mouse kind of chase, which is just really fun. And like I said, these are a little bit different than what I tend to read, but they're just a lot of fun. So I recommend, if you're looking for something action-packed and something a little bit different to kind of step outside of your reading comfort zone, then I recommend picking this one up. So this is a new release that comes out on May 1st, and I was lucky enough to get an early copy of it. It just sounds super intriguing, and it is Strangers We Know by Elle Marr. This one just is like, sounds super spooky. So adopted when she's only days old, Ivy Han knows little about her lineage, but when she's stricken by a mysterious illness, the results of a genetic test to identify the cause attract the FBI. According to Ivy's DNA, she's related to the Full Moon Killer, who has terrorized the Pacific Northwest for decades. Ivy is the FBI's hope to stop the predator from killing again. When an online search connects Ivy to her younger cousin, she heads to rural Rock Island, Washington to meet the woman. Motivated by a secret desire to unmask a murderous relative, Ivy reaches out to what's left of a family of strangers. Discovering her mother's tragic fate and her father's disappearance is just the beginning. As Ivy ventures into a serial killer's home territory, she realizes that she may be the next victim of poisonous blood ties. This just sounds like super interesting and just creepy. Like, I love the mystery aspect of you just finding your DNA is connected to this like serial killer, and just kind of her motivation to find out like who this person is, I think is just really interesting and fun. So I think this one will again be something that is like, it just sounds like it's gonna be fast paced, a lot of fun, and honestly I cannot wait to pick this one up because it sounds like a really good thriller. Next up, I have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I heard that this is going to be recently adapted. I don't know into what yet, but I was just, everyone always talks about this, everyone always raves about it, and I was like, you know what, it's finally time to pick it up. I still have a copy of Daisy Jones and the Six somewhere in here that I do need to read before the, I think it's like an Amazon Prime adaptation comes out. But this is, I feel like, the one this author is most known for. So it follows like a reclusive Hollywood icon, Evelyn Hugo, who is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life, but when she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique to write her story, no one is more astounded than Monique herself. Determined to use this opportunity to jumpstart her career, Monique listens in fascination. From making her way to Los Angeles in the 1950s to leaving show business in the 80s, and of course the seven husbands along the way, Evelyn unspools a tale of ruthless ambition, unexpected friendship, and a great forbidden love. But as Evelyn's story nears its conclusion, it becomes clear that her life's interest with Monique's own is tragic on its own, with Monique's own in tragic and irreversible ways. So I think this one just sounds super interesting. Again, this is one that is very well loved on BookTube. I probably would assume Book Talk and like every other bookish platform online. So yeah, definitely this I feel like would be like a good fun summer read. So maybe I'll read Daisy Jones and the Six and this one kind of over the summer. And lastly, this is a kind of YA fantasy that just really stood out. I've heard really like tremendous reviews for it, and I think it'll just be a very interesting read, and it is The Gilded Ones by Namini Forna, and this one I just think sounds really interesting, and I think the sequel will be coming out this year, maybe. I don't know. So it says 16-year-old Dika lives in fear and anticipation of the blood ceremony that will determine whether she becomes a member of her village. Already different from everyone else because of her unnatural intuition, Dika prays for red blood so she can finally feel like she belongs. But on the day of the ceremony, her blood runs gold, the color of impurity, and Dika knows she will face a consequence worse than death. Then a mysterious woman comes to her with a choice: stay in the village and to submit to her fate, or leave to fight for the emperor and the army of girls just like her. They are called Alaki, near immortals with rare gifts, and they are the only ones who can stop the emperor's greatest threat. Knowing the dangers that lie ahead, yet yearning for acceptance, Dika decides to leave the only life she's ever known. But as she journeys to the capital to train for the biggest battle of her life, she discovers that the great walled city holds many surprises. Nothing and no one are quite what they seem to be, not even Dika herself. I think this one just sounds, like I said, I've heard it's a very interesting and really well written YA fantasy. I do not tend to read a lot of YA, but I was like, you know what, I've heard really great things about this. I will give this a try. So yeah, I'm just excited to finally, you know, pick this one up. It just sounds like it will be very interesting. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is a very long haul video. I feel like my voice is just gonna slowly be losing. I'm gonna be losing my voice throughout the day, but I hope you guys enjoyed this haul. It combined like 4 months worth of book shopping, and I don't plan on purchasing a lot more books besides like some like most anticipated new releases. So this probably will be, the hauls will probably be spread out over the next few months, so just be aware of that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of your, you know, most recent purchases were for books and all of that fun stuff. And so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.